I proposed to my pregnant girlfriend in front of everyone. 3 months later, I caught her on the phone, laughing about how she'd take half of everything I owned. My name's John, and by 25, I thought I had life figured out. I'd built a successful digital marketing agency from my college dorm room, bought a nice townhouse in a decent part of Chicago, and had an amazing girlfriend, Rebecca. We'd been together for 2 years, and she was my rock. For my birthday, she threw a huge surprise party at our place, filling the house with my closest friends, craft beer, and the smell of griddled burgers. The night was perfect. Then Rebecca clinked her glass and got everyone's attention. Her eyes were shining with tears. "Everyone," she said, her voice trembling with fake emotion I mistook for joy. "I have the best birthday gift for John. We're having a baby." The room exploded. People were clapping me on the back, cheering, hugging us. My own vision blurred with happy tears. A baby, a family, with the woman I loved. In that euphoric moment, surrounded by everyone who mattered to me, it felt like the final piece of my life's puzzle was snapping into place. I dropped to one knee right there on the patio, the concrete digging into my knee. I didn't even have a ring. "Rebecca," I said, my voice cracking, "make this the best birthday ever. Marry me." She gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. The crowd went silent, waiting. "Yes, John. 1,000 times yes," she cried out. I've never felt a high like that. It was the peak of everything. What I didn't know, as I hugged my fiancée, was that I wasn't on a peak at all. I was standing on the edge of a cliff, and Rebecca was about to push me off. The next 3 months were a blur of wedding planning and prenatal appointments. Rebecca was glowing, constantly scrolling through Pinterest for baby names and wedding venues. We settled on a date for right after the baby would be born. "I don't want to be a pregnant bride," she had said with a sweet laugh. And I, like an idiot, thought it was practical. I was working harder than ever, fueled by this new purpose, providing for my future family. My business was doing great, and I was pouring every extra dollar into our savings, dreaming of a bigger house, a college fund, the whole American dream. Then came the day that changed everything. I had a client meeting downtown that got canceled last minute. Deciding to take a half day, I stopped by a fancy boutique Rebecca was always window shopping at and bought her that silk scarf she'd been eyeing. I even picked up her favorite overpriced cupcakes. I was feeling like the best fiancé in the world. I pulled into our driveway, a stupid grin on my face, planning my surprise. I used my key as quietly as possible, pushing the door open without a sound. The house was quiet, and then I heard her voice. She was in the living room, talking on the phone, her tone low and intimate. "I know, baby, I know. Just a little longer," she was saying. My smile faded. Something in her voice was wrong. I stood frozen in the hallway, holding the cupcakes and the scarf, listening to my life fall apart. He's so naive. He has no idea. The wedding is right after the birth. Once we're married, I'll file for divorce and take him for half of everything. The house, the business, all of it. And then the child support. We'll be set. The box of cupcakes slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a sickening, soft thud. For a second, I thought I was having a heart attack. My chest was so tight I couldn't breathe. I heard Rebecca's footsteps. "John, is that you?" she called out, her voice sweet and innocent again. I didn't answer. I turned around, walked straight back out the front door, and got into my car. I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, my knuckles white. The silk scarf was still clutched in my other hand. I looked at it, this stupid, expensive symbol of my blindness, and let out a sound that was half sob, half roar of pure rage. Every happy memory of the last 3 months, every ultrasound picture, every kiss, every time she'd talked about our future, flashed before my eyes, now tainted and ugly. It was all a lie, a calculated, cold-blooded lie. She wasn't planning a life with me, she was planning a lawsuit against me. The rage was a living thing inside me, demanding I storm back in there and confront her. But then a colder, quieter thought cut through the white-hot anger. If you go in there now, you lose. She'd spin some story, deny everything, and I'd have nothing. She'd still get everything she wanted. I started the car and drove away, leaving the fallen cupcakes on the welcome mat. I drove for hours, nowhere in particular, just putting miles between me and that house. And with every mile, the plan began to form. It was crazy. It was dangerous, but it was the only way I could see to win. She wanted to play a game? Fine, I was going to play it better. I was going to give her exactly what she wanted. I was going to marry her. I came home 2 hours later, my face a carefully constructed mask of tiredness. Rebecca was waiting for me, her eyes wide with fake concern. "John, I saw the cupcakes on the porch. Are you okay?" I forced a smile, my stomach churning. "Yeah, sorry. My phone died. The meeting ran long and then I had a massive headache. I bought you those cupcakes and just spaced out, I guess. Left them on the roof of the car." The lie came out surprisingly smooth. She studied my face for a second, and I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Calculation. But she bought it. She hugged me. "Oh, you poor thing. Let me get you some water." That was the moment I knew I could do it. I could look her in the eye and lie right back. The game was on. The next day, I went to see the only person I trusted completely, my mom. I laid it all out for her in her cozy kitchen, the whole ugly truth. She listened, her face growing pale, her hand over her mouth. When I finished, she was silent for a long moment. "John," she finally said, her voice soft but firm, "what do you need me to do?" This was the hardest part. I need to protect the business in the townhouse. I need to put it all in your name. On paper, I need to look broke. She didn't hesitate. Okay. We saw a lawyer that week, a sharp, discreet woman named Angela, who specialized in high-conflict divorces. She listened to my story, saw the evidence I'd started gathering, secretly recorded conversations where Rebecca talked about our future in vague materialistic terms, and she nodded. "It's risky," she said, "but if you follow the plan exactly, we can protect your assets and expose the fraud." So I did. I transferred the legal ownership of my business and my townhouse to my mother for the price of $1. I opened a new secret bank account and started funneling my salary into that, leaving just enough in our joint account to keep up appearances. To Rebecca, I was just a stressed out fiancé working hard for his family. I played the part perfectly. I went to the baby appointments. I talked about wedding colors. I kissed her goodbye every morning. And every night, I died a little inside, waiting for the moment my revenge would come due. The next few months were a masterclass in psychological warfare. I lived with the woman I despised, smiling as she talked about naming our child, all while I was secretly building a case to destroy her in court. I became an expert at hiding recording devices, my phone in a breast pocket, a tiny voice-activated recorder in the living room. I caught her in dozens of little lies. But I was waiting for the big one. It came 2 weeks before the birth. She was on the phone with her lover again, thinking I was at the gym. I was actually in my home office, watching the recording live on my laptop. "Almost there," Rebecca was saying, her voice giddy. "The doctor said any day now. As soon as I'm recovered, we have the wedding. Then I give it 6 months for the photos and the happy family facade, and then I file. My lawyer says with his income in the prenoid, I'll get half of everything, plus massive child support. He's so wrapped up in his work, he won't even see it coming." Prenoid. She couldn't even say prenup. She had no idea I'd had her sign a meticulously crafted post-nuptial agreement weeks after our engagement, which would be activated upon our marriage, severely limiting any claim she could make. She'd signed it without reading it, too busy gushing over the romantic gesture of planning our financial future together. I saved that recording. It was pure gold. When her water broke, I drove her to the hospital, holding her hand. I felt nothing but a cold, detached focus. When a baby boy was placed in her arms, a part of me ached for the child, an innocent pawn in her game. I held him, and the resolute in my heart hardened into steel. I would protect him from her, no matter what. We got married in a small, rushed ceremony at the courthouse when the baby was 3 weeks old. Rebecca looked beautiful, beaming with triumph. She thought she had won. She kissed me, and it tasted like betrayal. I smiled back. The final move was mine. Right on schedule, 3 months after the wedding, I came home to find an envelope on the kitchen table. Petition for dissolution of marriage. No emotion, just businesslike. She hadn't even bothered to do it in person. Our first hearing in family court was brief. Her lawyer, a pompous guy in an expensive suit, immediately went on the offensive. He talked about the marital home, the thriving business, the significant future earnings, and demanded hefty spousal and child support. Rebecca sat beside him, playing the part of the devoted young mother, dabbing fake tears. Then it was my lawyer, Angela's turn. She stood up, calm and collected. "Your Honor, this isn't a divorce case," she began. "This is a case of premeditated fraud and attempted larceny by deception." You could have heard a pin drop. Rebecca's head snapped up, her face a mask of confusion that quickly morphed into panic. Angela laid out the entire scheme. She presented the court with the timeline backed by the secret audio recordings. The room filled with Rebecca's own voice, cold and calculating, plotting to take him for half of everything. We presented the documents showing the legitimate transfer of my assets to my mother before the marriage, proving I had entered it with nothing. And then the final nail in the coffin, the post-nuptial agreement Rebecca had signed without reading, which voided any spousal support claims in the event of fraud. The judge's face grew sterner with each piece of evidence. Rebecca was pale, shaking. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. The court judge didn't rule that day. He set another date, ordering a full forensic investigation into Rebecca's finances and her relationship with the man on the phone. But the outcome was clear. She wasn't going to get a dime. In fact, she was in serious trouble. As we walked out of the courtroom, Rebecca finally broke her silence. Her voice a venomous hiss. "You set me up, you bastard." I looked her dead in the eye, all the rage and betrayal I'd held back for months, finally surfacing, but cold and controlled. "No, Rebecca, you did that to yourself." The court case dragged on for weeks, but the outcome was clear. Rebecca had lost everything. When the judge ordered a DNA test as part of the custody evaluation, I didn't think much of it. I was too focused on keeping that little boy safe. A week later, the results came in. He wasn't my son. For a long time, I just sat there, staring at the paper, feeling nothing. No anger, no shock, just silence. Because somewhere deep down, I'd already known. But when I looked at that tiny boy sleeping in his crib, I realized something. He wasn't my revenge. He was my redemption. I may not be his father by blood, but I'll make damn sure he never grows up like his mother.